Oh my word, look at my glasses. So I had it on the dashboard a while ago because I came and parked on a tree. And then this is it. So if you can see it, you can comment down below. All right, but anyways, I'm going to continue with the video. So I just want to come on here and talk a little bit about, have you ever had a situation where a patient sit down and fart in front of you? Excuse my language. Yeah. Have you been seeing a patient and the patient just, not necessarily the patient, but the relative? Because this time it's not the patient, it's the relative. The relative just sit down and just fart in front of you, or they just sneeze in front of you in your face and cough in front of you, and nobody says anything. Everybody there standing up looking like statue. Has that ever happened to you? Social media is supposed to bring awareness to a lot of things that is going on. And a lot of times, as we say, in another video, negativity is the thing that actually sells. Negativity is what sells. Anything that is positive, people don't really run with it. You don't go viral with it. But a lot of times, as nurses, we have to sit down and deal with a lot of things under quiet because we need the job, which definitely, yes, we do need the job and we need the money. But I don't think we should be having to deal with the disrespect that we are being given on a daily basis when we're seeing patients. When patients come to us who are sick in care of need, in care of a service that we're offering them, I don't think we should be the ones, that are getting the disrespect for sometimes some simple things or little to no nothing at all. I think it is just wrong for us to be, sitting down and accepting it. And the thing about it is that it's because when we go ahead and we talk about it and people understand, say, you might be talking about it because you are upset. And they always say don't talk about things when you're upset. But even when you're discussing it, it might sound as though you're upset, or, it might just come off wrongly. And so that is the problem with, the internet. Everybody has their own perspective. When you're watching and you're listening off of certain words, certain reaction, behavior of the person that is presenting the information. And so sometimes we put a little twist to it and the information is brought incorrectly, even though that is not how you intended to spread the information or the awareness on a topic. So when I come here and I am talking, I know I have a tone. I know I'm loud. I work in emergency room nursing. And if I don't know how many persons working in the emergency room, is there for years, and after a while you don't become a little bit stern, or, you're just strong. You're just a strong person working in the emergency room because you're working under some of the most horrible condition some days, or stressful condition, let me just say that, because you're dealing with patients who are dying, you're dealing with patients who are having mental breakdown, you're dealing with family members who are going through a lot, and all of that anger is being put on the hospital, and not even the hospital, at the nurse. It's being put on the nurse on a daily basis, and nobody really understands how is that nurse dealing, how is that nurse coping with whatever that is going on. And so you find out sometimes that nurses, they probably go in as a sheep, and when they come out of the profession, or by the time they're supposed to leave the profession, they're leaving like a lion, they're leaving like a tiger, just because of all of what they're having to deal with. You have some persons who try and run out of the profession before they reach that phase, because they can feel it, they can see it, you understand. And so a lot of times people don't really understand that these are things that are causing nurses to be drained, burned out. The disrespect that is being issued to nurses on a daily basis. These are the things that, is causing persons to be at a point where they can't deal with it no more. You understand? They can't deal with it no more. And because of patients' reaction sometimes, because of family members' reaction sometimes, the nurses' answer or response to them seem a little bit different than what they were expecting. And depending on the culture as well, that can also be another thing where it is being interpreted as you being rude or disrespectful, when really and truly you're just giving your opinion on the matter, or you're just correcting somebody. Because what I realized with the culture here is that you can't correct nobody. You can't correct anybody. Even in the nursing field, you can't correct somebody, because if you correct your own colleague, they feel as though you're belittling them or you're being disrespectful. So persons have a tendency to go ahead and they go up the ladder. They find somebody above you and then report you, even though they're the ones that was given the problem. You know them way there? So they are in the wrong, But because you talk to them, they go and talk to your boss, and then no, it seems as though you are the person that is in the wrong. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but me experience it a lot of time, because I always think that if I am having an issue with my own colleague, I think we should be able to deal with it on our level, rather than rushing to manager, supervisor, and all of those people to get involved in something that is very simple that we can actually deal with, you know. So it's the same thing when it comes on to the patients. A lot of times we're there at the bedside and patients might do one and two things, and one of them is when you talk about the common etiquettes. When you talk about common etiquettes, when patients are supposed to burp, you know, they're supposed to let go of gas, you know, or we call it fart or poop. You know that one we're talking? Yeah, man. When they're supposed to do that, when they're supposed to be belching, burping, a lot of times, you know, that, I don't know what happened with that common etiquette, but it seems as though it go through the door for a lot of person. You understand? And people don't understand that it's not all cultures are like that, where it's very accepting. You understand? You are letting out your gas. They say let poop be free, quote unquote. All right, because you don't want to get because you don't want it to kill you, right? Let poop be free so it don't kill you. But then you don't remember that persons are in your environment that it might go and kill. You understand? So we're not mindful of that. We're not thinking about the person that is in front of us. We're not thinking about the person that is giving care. And we don't think about the impact it might have on us, you know, when we're thinking about continuation of care. Because, you know, when I say that if I am not feeling comfortable taking care of a patient, and I go and report that to my manager, and then they're going to give that patient to somebody else if they don't want to go ahead and do it. Because, you know, a lot of times the charge nurses don't want to take the patient, you know, when you have an issue with a patient. So they end up giving it to somebody else. And what is going to happen is that person who is going to be assigned the patient is going to want to know, okay, then so why did Stacy not, you know, continue with that patient? And then everybody already going to hear about it, because you are upset at the time about whatever happened. You know, you feel disrespected by that person, and so you don't want to continue. So the other person that is going in there, yes, they're going there with a smile, and even though the smile is not that genuine most of the time, they go in there with a smile and they try to give the care that they're giving, but they kind of have a standoffish attitude at the end of the day. And people don't understand that those are things that cause you to not get the best care. You know, people are not purposefully going in a room and say, oh, we're not going to give you the best care today, you know. But if somebody is going to think about the fact that when you go in the room, somebody's going to lean over to the side and just fart at you, because that's just their culture, or they just think it is okay and it's acceptable, and then that fart stink up the whole room, and then you're supposed to be there taking care of the patient, and if you don't wear a mask like me when I'm seeing my patient, then you're gonna be having to, you know, inhale all of that scent. You're gonna have to deal with it. You understand? And if the poop never kill the person, it might end up and kill you in there, because you're the one that is gonna have to try and hold your breath to deal with whatever is going on while you're caring for that patient. And so it's just so unfair that, you know, people are able to do that, or persons are able to do that, but when you look at the nurses can't say anything, because if you say anything to them, you're being rude, disrespectful, you know, you're not living up to the standard of the hospital, or the mission statement, or the vision statement for the hospital, you know, and so they end up either dismissing you or something, write you up, because, you know, the patient is always right. The patient is always right. At what point is the nurse actually correct? We need to kind of stop using that phrase, those words, to say that the patient is always right, because who is standing up for the nurses? Who is standing up for the nurses? And that's why I want nurses to start, you know, stop trying to tear down each other. Stop trying to tear down each other, because we're going to have to be there for each other. You understand? Big companies out there are not going to be there for you. You and I have to be together on this thing. We have to work together and be teammates and be work pals, so we can actually be better for the profession. All right? Hope you understand. Bye.